Welcome to day three, or well into day three of Blood in the Snow 2015. My name is Jason Tanis. I'm one of the senior programmers here at the festival. I am very, very proud and very excited to be bringing you the world premiere, and this does deserve some noise, for White Raven. I don't want to say too much about the film because I think it's a film that really speaks for itself. And I want you to kind of see it with not too much knowing what it's about or anything like that. If you've read some of the reviews, you may know. But I think as a programmer, sometimes there's, you there's films that you know are kind of coming, or there's films that you see at other festivals. And this one, even though once I started watching it, it's one I wasn't expecting. And this one, even though as soon as I started watching it, I recognized some of the actors were all in She Must Burn, and a few of them were involved in an amazing film from last year called Black Mountainside. I think just as I watched the film, I just got very excited. I realized that this is a great movie, and I'm very happy that it's made the journey to have its world premiere today here at Blood and Snow. So I'll leave it at that because I do want you to experience it for yourself without too much hyperbole. I want to thank our sponsors, Anchor Bay Canada, Fangoria, and Suspect Video. Our community partner for this screening is Twitch. Website Twitch. And as we kind of roll into, our third day, even though I think we have a little thing for it at the beginning of each screening, I think it even deserves more of an recognition, is to thank our volunteers. We have a terrific group of volunteers. I don't know how we did something like this without them. They're really a great group, and they've really kept the ship rocking, and so I thank them very much. So the director and writer of White Raven is here, as well as his cast, and we're going to talk to them afterwards, and you'll have some things to say, I'm sure, about the film. But I do want to, before we do that, we have a short beforehand, and it's called And They Watched. So if the director of And They Watched is here, or if someone else from And They Watched, if they can just make their way to the stage. Are you here? Yeah. All right, excellent. And if they can make your way to the stage. And, all right, and we'll just kind of, okay, just give me a second. They close the bag up.
Oh, we got a button. Yeah.
So
Vivian's the director.
Okay, excellent.
And Jen's the editor.
All right.
We don't.
You should get one. Producers are underappreciated. All right, so here you go. This is for you. We give, hold on, for the photograph for Glenn here.
All right, I'm ready for you.
As you may know, if you've seen one of our other screenings, again, we give these are special filmmaker alum pins that only they get, so wear that thing with great pride. This is a really, again, befitting to be with White Raven. It's a very powerful piece of work. And They Watch. If you just want to say a few things, maybe come over here. I think even some people, the sight lines might not be great. Just maybe say a few words about And They Watched and the making of it and the idea. Here you go.
I'm going to make her talk.
Thank you. We just wanted to say thanks so much for being part of this amazing festival. We've had such a great experience. It's so well run. It's amazing. Congrats to you guys, because they're not all like this. And thanks so much for all of our cast and crew who made this amazing experience happen. Sonia's here, Sandy's here, Andrew's here, and there's your mom's here, and there's a bunch of other people who obviously made this film possible. And thanks so much for Vivian Lin for bringing me on board and having a really, really fun experience. You get to talk now.
What is it about?
Well, you'll see. It's 6 minutes long. It's a short film. It's a short film, and it's actually short, so that's great. And it is inspired by last statements of executed inmates.
And we'll leave you with that.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, and congratulations. All right, guys, we'll be back after the screening with the cast and crew of White Raven. Excellent work, guys. All right, so some people may have been here from She Must Burn, but for those that were not, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Andrew Moxham, I'm a director.
I'm Shane Torduno as an actor.
Andrew Dunbar, an actor. Steve Bradley, also an actor.
So, like I mentioned, you guys recognize me. You guys were all involved with She Who Must Burn, which was also shot out in British Columbia. And I mentioned at least 2 of you, or maybe more, were also involved in last year's Black Mountainside, which, for those who haven't seen it, takes place in an environment very similar to that of John Carpenter's The Thing in northern British Columbia during the winter. So it's a very snowy, very frigid, cold film. Most of it takes place either out the doors or in a very cold environment. And so, for those that were involved in that, what made you want to go back out into the wilderness again? You mentioned this yesterday.
Well, we had such a great time on Black Mountainside that I think we kind of looked at each other and said, let's do it again, and let's try and do something a little bit different and a little bit maybe darker, and so that's kind of what we had so much fun really on that shoot. It kind of inspired us to do this, so it's kind of cool.
And there's also something that as well, definitely the nature and just the environment, even though it's two different climates in two movies, is definitely a character and a factor as well. And it brings out some. I answer the question, but does it bring out something in the story, in the characters as well?
Yeah, I know Canadians in general, we have such a beautiful country, and it's awe-inspiring, especially in the West, and you can't get away. Vancouver, even, it's a big city, but you can't get away from it. It's always around you. If you drive 5 minutes, you're in Stanley Park, and you're in an old-growth rainforest. So that's always been in the back of my mind, and I think that's definitely, it's a character in the movie. So.
And I mean, we're all you're all actors here, but as well, how cold was that water?
Oh my God.
There was no acting involved.
It was just
freezing cold.
Yeah, it was written in the script and none of us wanted to do it. When we got to that point, we're like, I don't want to.
No, we
I
shouldn't
don't
do
want
that.
to do that.
Let's write that out.
I know, it's all this emotional, deep, dark work, and they're they don't want to get in the water. So.
We're like, Mox, you jump in, you're the director, and we'll follow you.
I said, I'll do it after.
Yeah.
He did.
Moving on.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the deep, dark work of the script and everything. And this is a very character-driven, performance-driven story. And as I'm watching it again, it's one of those movies. You pick it up when you watch it a second time, a third time, you realize just how much nuance there is, probably both in the script and to the characters. And so I'm wondering if the actors everybody could speak to that, the creation of these characters and their own journeys, and as well what it was like to inhabit them for the course of the shoot. I imagine, quite obviously, Steve, I imagine, has so much, that'd be really challenging and a lot of weight with that character. But as well, all the other guys, as well. I know the other gentleman's not here, but I was even watching the scene how much he's always so much talking about boys weekend. Let's have another beer, and there's something really sad about that.
Yeah.
So, but I think all the characters had they're on that journey. But what was it like, and developing that and living with that for making this film?
I'll just say real quickly, for me, because I was writing, I didn't have to do the acting. It was kind of it was easier for me because I was getting it, all these thoughts or feelings and emotions that I had, I was getting it on paper, and then these guys had to portray it, so.
It was fun. For my character anyways, I kind of just saw him as a perpetual man-child. There's this sort of, I see it in our society, maybe this generation, maybe it hasn't been in previous generations, but there's people that are 40 years old and they're refusing to grow up. They're still just getting drunk and trying to have sex with 20-year-old girls, and it's sad. It's very, very sad. But so to play it, it was fun. But it was dark because everything's you're just drinking your problems away. You're just trying to divert, actually thinking about yourself or talking about your problems, and that leads to more problems most of the time. So
Yeah, I think what helps is we had the whole crew and cast early on. We all cast each other because we know each other and we're all friends. So we get the cast in, and after Mox had a draft, we'd all go in, we'd do a reading, and we'd all work on, we'd have our thoughts, and Mox would go back and he'd get new ideas from the way we're reading it, and some stuff didn't work. So I think that process really helped a lot, and that's kind of what we like to do is just
Yeah,
have.
it was very collaborative. The actors really wrote a lot of the script.
Well, we would do improvs and stuff
Yeah.
and around it to help, Mox write the script, which was fun and obviously, helps us too,
Yeah, when we did a first table read of this script, and I wasn't reading Pete. I was reading Jake originally, the funny guy. The guy that dies first.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I don't want to be the guy that dies first. And then we came back for the second reading, and Mox was like, no, you're going to read for Pete. And I was like, okay, great. Something I can actually sink my teeth into. And this is actually my first time watching the movie with you guys. I haven't seen it yet. So I was kind of going for a ride as myself. Like when I knew stuff was coming up, my hood just kind of went over my head. Like, I really, really do enjoy playing these characters that just like a little off. And people ask me sometimes, like, what is it like to play someone that's crazy? And I can't answer that question honestly, because I never go at it like, okay, how can I be crazy? I just need to go at it from like a human connection kind of thing. I'm like, what actually makes this guy sad and vulnerable? And watching it on screen, because I think I've done stuff like this before, but never so like outwardly. Or like ever like my, to my castmate, they picking up on how weird he's being. So to play, I remember we're doing some scenes, and I'm like, okay, so where is Pete right now? Like, where are we in Pete's like trip? And I'm like, okay, so that just happened, and like, 'cause we hadn't shot it yet, so we're here, but now we're over here. I'm like, okay, now I need to go a little deeper here. And so yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun working with these guys.
Yeah.
I had to distance myself a lot because we're such good friends. The three of those guys would kind of go off, and Pete would just like go in the corner.
He doesn't watch by himself.
Yeah, just like by myself. So yeah, it was awesome.
Excellent. Before I ask the next question, I just got to remember, of course, Andrew, to give you, again, the Blood in the Snow alum pin that only the filmmakers get.
Sweet.
So there you go, wear that with great pride.
Awesome, I will.
Yes. So like I said, this is your world premiere. This audience is the first to see it, and they're probably still taking it in. And I imagine they have also some great questions as they're working it through. So let's go to the questions. Yes, sir.
How many days did you shoot in the woods, and what were the logistics? Did you have to go far into the woods, set up a base camp, or was it just off the side of the road type of thing?
Good question. Yeah, so basically we shot 7 days, six or 7 days in the woods. And what we did is we went to Vancouver Island, just north of Nanaimo, because we'd been scouting in the summer, and we actually scouted this beautiful spot that had these 3 waterfalls and these like pools, and it was just gorgeous. And then when we got there in the winter, I mean, we didn't really take this into account, the water level had gone up by like 3 feet, and these were like raging waterfalls, and it was completely unsafe to shoot. Like and the sound was, would have been terrible. So that was the first day we learned that. So we had to go and find a new location. So those waterfalls you see are actually 2 different waterfalls. There's one called Englishman River Falls near Parksville, and then another one didn't even have a name. We just found it. But that's the beauty of that area, is like literally we did have a base camp in Qualicum. So we'd go back there every night and eat dinner and prepare for the next day. But at certain points, we literally had to pull over on the side of the road and be like, oh yeah, let's shoot this here. It looks good. There's a dead deer in the start. We didn't harm the deer. It was already dead. So as an example, somebody spotted it.
We were driving. I was driving, and I just like saw it, and I hit the brakes. I called the guys. I'm like, there is a dead deer on the side of the road.
So we thought we'd honor its death by immortalizing it.
Got to be in a movie.
Yeah. So.
And what kind of a crew did you have for In the Woods? Was it very minimal?
I had me, sound guy, and our friend Michael Chase, who did camera assistant, AD, producer, everything else. So that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
And these guys helped. If they weren't on camera, they would help. So, and they all know how to do work behind the camera as well. So I don't know if we could have done it with a different set of individuals, because all of us have multiple disciplines. So.
It was something we set out to do immediately.
Yeah.
Before the script, I think, was even fully written, Andrew had an idea. It was like, we all know how to make a movie. We don't need a crew. Let's just get us to do it.
Yeah, and it made it just that much more like intimate of a crew, and we're eating dinner together and running lines every night, and sleeping in the same bed.
Who's tight quarters?
It's tight, yeah, it's tight.
Excellent. All right, another question. Robert.
The legend, I guess the legend of the White Raven, or the myth, fable. Where did you invent that or adapt it?
Well, I mean, I adapted it a little bit. Can't remember how I came across that. I was doing something on the internet and found it. And
If you need it.
can you hear me?
Okay.
But I started reading, and there's different versions depending on whatever particular culture. It seems to be, Pacific Northwest though is where it kind of originated. And it's a creation myth, and it's something about it was interesting. And the fact that there was these two specific ones that were different, ones like from the United States and ones from the Vancouver Island, the area where we were going to shoot. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I looked up legends from the area just to get an idea, and it's a Salish one. And the Salish one, the Raven is I believe like a hero, but in this American one, the Raven's like a mischievous, evil character who kind of ruins stuff. So I thought that was really cool how, like, depending on who you are and where you are in your life, you interpret something differently, and like you do it all the time with all kinds of like literature, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, when you were researching the local legends, I guess you came across that when they built, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
Right.
we thought about doing something like that actually at one point early on in the script development, but
Yeah, because it kind of came through. With
okay.
him going insane.
Yeah.
In the bush.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
what happens.
He didn't eat them though.
Yeah.
Right.
That would have been a good twist.
But in one version of the script, he did. Remember?
Oh,
Was it-
oh yeah, it was we had that was it was a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions?
One there.
Yes.
You play a lot around here with the ideas of masculinity and what
Mm-hmm.
makes men men. I was wondering if you could talk about the genesis of where that came from and what you were trying to get across with the film. Because I mean, they say at the campfire, we're men, we don't talk about these things. And I thought it was a really interesting theme. I don't see that in a lot of horror themed films.
Right. Yeah, I think the reason we kind of brought that, or at least that I brought it to the table, was being in the film business and you just see a lot of, and actors are just, we communicate really well, I think, but outside of the film business, like, people don't really talk, men especially don't really communicate their feelings or emotions, and sometimes it can end up fucking them up, right? So I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at, is that, and then I think I discovered something that was totally not on purpose, but ironically, every single time a guy expresses himself, his inner emotions to another guy, he dies later. So it's, that wasn't intentional. Please feel free to express yourself to other men. Like, it's okay. But
I love you, man.
Yeah. I love you guys. Okay. But anyway, I just think that was sort of, I don't know, it's something, I grew up in sports culture, man, and it's like nobody's allowed to, you can't do that.
Everybody's all good all the time.
Yeah, and there is a theme where they keep saying, he's fine. And part of it too is, I mean, there's some of these, I don't want to get too serious, but there's like mass shootings and all these things, and you always find out after the fact that the person was isolated and wasn't talking, and so that was kind of an examination of that a little bit, like.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing could have been avoided if years ago someone had just said to Pete, "Hey, sorry."
Yeah,
And that's all.
exactly. Exactly. Not that, that's the case in real life, but that's sort of what I think he's trying to get at.
Yes.
I suppose what you shot on, and was it mostly available light?
The only light we used was, available light.
Not
We had-
one practical.
we had a lamp.
Campfire light.
Campfire light, a lamp,
Yeah.
you saw the lamp in the one scene,
Yeah.
and the light like inside the restaurant and all that stuff. So yeah, all available.
We shot on 5B.
Yeah.
Dave?
I was gonna ask first if you guys had a beer sponsor, but I saw
We did.
you did.
Yeah, we actually got a beer
But,
sponsor.
I
Which is
mean, I
amazing.
talked to you about this before, but I can't get over how much drinking happens in this movie and how alcohol just is ingratiated so heavily in everybody's life. And I don't know if you could talk about that. a little
Yeah, I think because we all at some point have worked in like the restaurant business, being actors and stuff. So it's amazing. I mean, I only started about 3 or 4 years ago, and I didn't know like how crazy it was. And people drink all the time in the restaurant business. If you're in the business, and it's sort of, you just see these arcs of people. They just start drinking and drinking and drinking, and then they kind of fade away. And so that's something also that I wanted to like mix in there with that sort of masculinity theme, was like how people kind of delude themselves, you know, and medicate themselves. So it's kind of interesting.
Yes, in the back.
I would like to know, how did you choose the actors?
Well, we're all friends, and so like I think Steve said, I had an idea because we just finished my first feature was a bigger budget. It was still an independent, but it was really hard, and the organization was hard, and I had to wrangle so many people, and just I felt like I didn't have control. So I just said to the guys, I'm like, look guys, we trust each other. Let's do something where we control everything, from script to editing, and then just see how that goes and if it's any better of an experience. And it turns out it was. So, and I think we learned a lot. At least I did. Yeah.
So if you had a beer sponsored, does that mean all of the beers were real?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Did you
yeah.
all of those beers?
No,
There was times
I mean,
when Moxham was like, okay guys,
Yeah,
let's
like-
just like put water in it.
There was, I'd say about at least 75% of the time it was water that was in the cans.
But you know,
But every time we're
somebody's
cracking,
a
it's
drink
like-
Yeah,
of
well,
water,
that was
you
the
know.
thing, is we couldn't figure out a way to do that effectively.
Yeah.
And so we just were like, well, we use real beer.
Yeah.
So does that sound anyway? But yeah, it wasn't like they were hammered on set or anything. But I wasn't gonna allow that.
It was a very, I got two questions. One, who is really responsible for carrying that water? Does that bug you?
It was everybody's responsibility, but they didn't communicate.
The second thing, I gotta say, the ending bothers me a little bit for a reason which kind of is, men find violence as a solution to their problems. In the end, I didn't really like to see him. I was hoping he wasn't. I kind of felt he was going to kill himself, but I didn't want him to do that. I wanted maybe the Raven to come and take him away.
I was actually sitting there and I was thinking the same thing.
I know.
Yeah.
The end of the movie.
Every time I see him, like, oh, don't do it, man.
But you know what? Going back to
it's realistic.
And going back to that theme is we don't, unfortunately, it's sort of like that's what's horrifying to me, is like in real life you're robbed of that satisfaction. So I kind of wanted to put a bit of that in the movie, and it's like, you know, those stupid spree shooters, they go in and they do it and they kill themselves, and you don't get the chance to ask them why or whatever. And so that's sort of what I wanted to. That's horror to me. So I'm like, let's put it in the movie.
When we did the first rough cut of this and we watched it, I don't know who said it, but we're like, everyone's gonna hate us.
Yeah.
This is the way it ends. Is like, okay, hate you guys.
I have a question. At some point in the cave, was I seeing this, or was it actually, there was some kind of animal-like crawling around?
There was
Yeah.
Daddy Longlegs covered the entire
Oh,
roof of the
man.
cave.
It was pretty gnarly in there.
At first, I thought he was going to try and, there were ants, he was going to try and suture himself, but that was kind of really creepy. Though.
Yeah, we had to get a shot.
We had to get it. Yeah, it was
So-
gross. Just in there the whole time.
Yeah. Damn.
We have time for one more question. David?
Yeah, sure. Just a casting question again. Angie, you said that Aaron was the last guy to be cast, and he was kind of brought something different to the guy who played Jake. He brought something different than what you'd originally anticipated. So
Yeah.
he brings most of the light fun to the
Totally.
movie, though he's just as tragic. But anyway.
I think it's kind of amazing because I don't know what that character would have been like. Like, I can't even remember what he was like. He wasn't that funny.
No,
I
we
don't even
needed
think
him so bad.
And then Aaron, who's also a writer, so it's not surprising. He was like, well, I'm gonna do this. What do you think? And I'm like, yes. And then every time he would do something, I'd be like, okay.
He improv'd a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he kind of was the final piece, you know, and it was amazing that you can't imagine the film without that character.
My
So-
favorite Jake line is that I want what you're eating, that BLT sandwich.
Yeah.
He just made that up on the spot. Like, that was brilliant. I was like, I was trying not to laugh when he said it.
Oh yeah, that's the best part, is we're literally laughing as we're listening on camera.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it, 'cause we got to make room for the next group. But again, guys, you made a really great, honest, memorable, exhilarating film.